this team has. I mean, we've got 3 fantastic leaders here today that have played a lot of football for us here at South Carolina, along with a lot of other leaders. I mean, you think about it, 2 of the guys that we brought to media days last year are still on our team, and Tonka and Kai as well. So we're an older team that's very, very hungry. You know, they've shown that since August. And the theme for us, Rick, is just continue to, build on that and embrace that. We've got a lot of new faces, obviously, on all 3 phases, coaches and players, and continue to, get acclimated and just get better. But really like this group, like the way they've worked since January. We've had a fantastic summer and eager to get going.
Yeah, hunger. And you should have hunger after a season where you thought you were going to be better, right? And Terry Ford Tyler had halftime show here on The Game, sponsored by the Men's Clinic of South Carolina. All right, so you and I were yipping about this during the break, and I think you made an excellent point. Because I was talking about the one national writer I was talking to. It's like, Shane, who was refreshing in the beginning, now act is getting old. And I think you hit the nail on the head. If South Carolina last year went 10-2, and Shane Beamer gets up for 17 minutes, what do you think they're saying?
The dynamic personality. Look at, he's so charismatic. He's so personal. I mean, I think the shining example of that is Eli Drinkwitz. I mean, going into media days last year after he got a contract extension for being under 500, we clowned the guy. Look at this. Look at this goofball. This guy that's, taking shots at Dan Mullen with the Darth Vader thing a couple years ago. Like, who is this guy think he is being this personable at a losing program? Guess what? They went out there and had one of the best seasons in program history, and now we go out there and say, "Oh, this guy knows what he's talking about." Look at that! Look at how dynamic of a personality this guy's. And we don't even realize we're doing it, but it flips that quickly to where a couple years ago, when Beamer's making these funny videos and showing his personality, man, that's so cool. He's connected with his players. South Carolina, that's a fun program. They're having a great time. And now, anytime they do that, it's like, well, they're wasting their time. They're losing football games. Get back to practice.
Right, watch film.
Exactly.
What are you doing? What are you doing making stupid videos for social media? You should be watching film, lifting weights.
Yeah.
Running gassers till you puke.
That 20 seconds you did shooting that video clip, you could have, been doing push-ups or something.
Right. But that's the thing. Eli Drinkwitz is now refreshing.
Yeah, exactly.
And Shane was refreshing until you go 5-7.
Yeah.
So if South Carolina bounces back this year, Shane is once again refreshing. It's a great story. Everybody has that 1 year of adversity. Look what South Carolina did. He's showing you what kind of leader and program builder he is. You know how it goes.
To a degree, when you are doing those things, you're subjecting yourself to criticism.
Sure.
You are allowing people to have an opinion on you because you're doing things outside of coaching football. If you're just nose to the grindstone, film watching guy like Muschamp was coaching football, you don't have those personality aspects for people to get an insight on who you are as a person necessarily. They only are going to look at what happens on the field as a way to judge who you are. But when you open yourself up to that kind of stuff, it's going to sway one or the other depending on what happens on the field as well.
Well, we'll go back to about watching film. Will Muschamp wasn't successful. Why? Just watch film all the time.
Yeah. He wasn't dynamic enough as a personality.
Right. He wasn't out doing the things that today head coaches need to do. He just shut himself in the basement and watched film.
Yeah.
So then when you're out doing those things and being charismatic and doing social media, why aren't you watching film?
Yeah.
Because it's funny. It's just funny the way those things go.
And it's funny that you go from one coach that's in extreme to one side. I'm not saying Beamer's extreme to the other side of being too off the field, too personable, that kind of stuff. But it is a far difference between the two of those guys that, ideally, I guess you're looking for something in the middle. I'm not saying that Beamer can't be that person, but he is a far to the left difference than what Muschamp was.
Yeah, again, much more personable. He's much more out in the fan base. And that's the other thing, too. If Muschamp would have won big, because one of the things that's said, and I don't disagree with this at all, talking to fans here, is Muschamp never embraced Columbia. It always felt like Muschamp was just here until he could go to some other place.
Yeah.
Or he was just here because they paid him to be the head coach. And all that might have been true, but you know what? You don't care if the guy's winning 9-10 games a year.
Right.
You don't care. But when you're not winning 9 or 10 games a year and you come off that way, people can't wait for you to beat it. It's just the way it works. The flip side is Shane he loves Columbia. He's embraced Columbia. He's very in with the fan base. He's a very fan-friendly guy. That buys you some love. It just does. while you're trying to get the program where you want it to be and the fans want it to be. But it's always how successful are you? Because when you're successful, the perception of you is different. It just is. Like I've always said this. When you're rich and you're a kook, you're eccentric. When you're poor and a kook, you're flat out mentally ill. Crazy. You're a loon. When you got money, you're eccentric. That guy. So it's always the perception. It's always the perception.
Sure.
When you're successful, you're looked at differently than when you're not. And that's just the bottom line.
Yeah.
How many successful, I've always said this about head coaches. Like, example, like when I was in Baltimore with John Harbaugh. Harbaugh could come off unlikable at times, and Harbaugh didn't care.
Sure.
And people always want to love the head coach or love everybody on the team. And I always said, look, you have to love John Harbaugh. Just care about the W's.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is he your neighbor? Does he live in your basement?
Yeah.
Is he in the cube next to you at work? Who cares if he's likable or not? You're not dealing with this guy on a daily basis. All you care about as a fan, are you winning games?
Yeah, and if you're winning games, you can forgive what kind of prickly personality that they have.
Exactly. Like all fans want all the players to be Boy Scouts and lovable and wonderful. Here's the truth. You know how many players are on a football team?
In the NFL, 53, but in college, 80 to 100.
Right. Do you think they're all going to be lovable and cuddly and nice and wonderful and yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, and all? No, of course not. Some of them are going to be jerks. That's the way it is.
Well, and speaking about head coach specifically, look at the Belichick saga, where for 20 years, his prickly personality and his just defiance to open up to any degree, well, he's just a great head coach. He's winning games, winning Super Bowls. That's perfectly fine. But as soon as Brady leaves, as soon as things start turning the other direction, what's wrong with this guy?
Guys,
Why don't this guy embrace anything new in the world of football? Suddenly people turned on him.
Right. I mean, his personality, because he's all about football and he's focused and he's intense and and then all of a sudden it's like, this guy's too intense. This guy's kind of a jerk. I always use Bobby Knight as the greatest example of it. When Bobby Knight was going to Final Fours and winning national championships, he's fiery.
He can throw all the chairs he wants.
He's a no-nonsense guy. Yeah, he picked up some security guy and threw him in a garbage can in Panama. That's because he wants to win. When you stop going to Final Fours and stop winning championships, this guy's a jerk.
He's lost control.
He's lost his mind. He's nuts. He's insane. We got to replace this old codger. He's going wacko. It's all about the winning, man. When you're successful, you're looked at a totally different way.
You, as a head coach, and look, rightfully so, you're the face of the program. You're leading the charge. You're always walking a fine line.
All right. If you're on hold, we'll get to you. 803-404-6100, Love Chevy phone line. We'll come back here. Some more Shane at the podium from SEC Media Days and also with the local media. Want to kind of switch gears to talking about one of the things that was, Shane broke down everything in the offseason. You know, we talk about 5 and 7 wasn't acceptable to the fan base, wasn't acceptable to the head coach either. And so we're going to talk about some of those things. And one of the things that Shane discussed with the local media was adjusting the strength and conditioning that the team did in the offseason. And even Debo Williams brought up that when we talked to him on Radio Row. And we're going to get to you again on the phone at 803-404-6100. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, we're hanging up until 3 on the game.